to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, South Florida. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Today is our legal show, estate planning. And before I introduce our expert, first of all, I got to tell you, I lucked out on this one. The Rosenberg Law Firm, I got to tell you, has turned out to be one of our better shows, but we got a email from a lady who said she was listening to the show. She has a law firm that does her estate planning, and Andy told her something different. So she contacted another lawyer for a third opinion, and she said it turned out that Andy was right and that she was going to be getting rid of the firm and contacting Andy. Wow, that's a great one. Good morning, Andrew.
Hey, good morning. I want to know what was the issue. Thank God I had the right answer, but what was the issue?
She didn't even say. She just said that
Wow.
she was listening to your show, that she got different information than her attorney gave her. She said she never questioned it until whatever information. And we talk a lot about wills and trust, and we go into some other areas. And maybe it's something with elder law that you said,
Right.
but who cares? She's going to be calling you up, getting rid of the
Wow.
firm she's using. But
Wow.
what a nice compliment. That was
Yeah.
nice.
That's a great way to start the day. Thank you for that wonderful testimonial.
No kidding. Andrew, I got to tell you, your show is so easy to do. I call it a very laid back on a topic that we know is very serious, estate planning. And we are in, I call it the Mecca because the demographics of South Florida, it's in the older demographics. And this was a very hard show because we had lost an estate planning attorney who was actually with us for 10 years on a very horrible thing. And we really held off putting another estate planning show on. But I got to tell you, I'm so happy because you give such great information and people seem to love your stories. Okay. So don't ever stop the stories.
Okay. Well, I
Tell
appreciate
people about Rosenberg Law Firm.
what's that?
Tell people about the Rosenberg Law Firm.
So Rosenberg Law Firm is a boutique firm. Um, you're basically, when you want to talk to the attorney, you're going to be talking to me. I'm the only attorney in the practice. I've had it for 30 plus years, and I have a lot of support staff. I have a support staff of, I think, 5 to 7 people involved, but none of them are the attorneys. I have paralegals, etc. Eventually, I may bring someone else into this to help out down the line. But right now, all we do is wills, trust, estate planning, probate, and elder law care. That's our main focus, and we've been doing it for a long time. And we're located in the Coral Springs or South Florida market area, although I can handle the entire state.
Andy, tell people because a lot of people, I'm surprised because there's a lot of estate planning shows out there, but I'm surprised that people still don't understand what elder law is.
Yeah, well, there's different definitions, Steve-O, of elder law, I guess. This is how I describe it. So we have estate planning, which is dealing with everyday stuff. Obviously, you know, wills, trusts, probate, no probate, trying to avoid that, guardianship issues, durable powers, health, all that stuff. That's estate planning. But then I like to delineate it and say that elder law is the area where we get someone that's older and that needs to go into an assisted living or a nursing home situation or home health care, and we're trying to protect the assets. So someone's built up all their assets over all these years, and they're needing to go into an assisted living, home health, or nursing home situation. And if you go into those situations, it costs a ton of money to go in there. And there's only 3 ways that people can pay for elder care. And number one is if they're lucky enough to have long-term care insurance, which we'll talk about in a minute since you brought it up, because I just went through the process myself. If you don't have long-term care insurance, then guess what, Steve-O? Your income and your assets are going to pay for the assisted living, home health care, or nursing home care situation until it gets dwindled down to nothing. And then once you have no assets and no income, then Medicaid kicks in and pays for things. So there's 3 ways. There's long-term care insurance, there's your income, your assets, and then once that's gone, there's Medicaid. And what elder care deals with is the process of going into an assisted living or home or nursing home situation, but trying to protect your income and your assets so it doesn't get dwindled to nothing. Because right now in the state of Florida, as of today, if you have more than $2,000 of assets, or you have income of a monthly basis of more than $2,901, you will not qualify for Medicaid. So your income and your assets are going to get dwindled till it's below 2,000 of assets, or until you have less than $2,901 of income, and then you qualify. So luckily, Florida has a wonderful situation. I can't always say that, but Florida is very accommodating for elder care. And we could do something called crisis Medicaid planning, where we can move the income and we can move the assets basically overnight within a month or so and get someone qualified. You don't have to wait for the 5-year look back, although that's another option. Everyone hears about this 5-year look back when you're dealing with Medicaid. So again, I know it's a long-winded answer, Steve-O, but elder care is dealing with, in my opinion, dealing with qualification for Medicaid, for nursing home and assisted living.
I don't think people, even if you haven't delved into it, have any idea how much long-term care, the costs are just outrageous. But so, Andy, are you saying that just your car alone, the assets of the value of your car, that's going to eat up that $2,000 right there, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot. It's very easy, Steve-O, to go above that $2,000 asset situation. Now, there are exempt assets that we have to deal with. So a lot of things we look at. So a car typically is exempt.
Okay.
The home in Florida, in most cases, are exempt if it's set up properly. There's other assets that we can talk about, but I don't want to get too much into the weeds. But yeah, so it requires someone that has a specialty in the elder care arena to really sit down and go through things. In fact, before we got on the air today, I got a text from a client that says, I need to meet with you. My mom's not doing well. What do we do to protect it? So, we're going to have a meeting for that. But let's go back for a minute, Steve-O, because I mentioned that there's 3 ways to deal with paying for this stuff, right? Paying for an assisted living or nursing home. And the first way is long-term care insurance. And most people don't have it, okay? But it's the best way to have it. The best way to pay for it is long-term care. I can tell you my in-laws have it. Thank God they got it a long time ago. But here's the problem with this whole process in this industry, in the long-term care industry, is that most people that have long-term care insurance policies, their premiums have gotten increased dramatically over the past 5, 10, 15 years. So if you've had it 20 years ago and you bought the policy, I guarantee you, whatever you're paying a yearly premium for back then, you're paying probably double now what it was, if not
Oh,
triple now. So that's the problem that we're seeing with the long-term care insurance industry, is that they jack up these premium rates once they get you in, and it becomes unaffordable, and then people drop it. So there's a whole nother industry that has come up in this long-term care arena. I know we're talking estate planning, but we're kind of talking about insurance here a little bit.
right.
And that's life insurance. So there's now life insurance that have long-term care premium riders on it. So you can get life insurance that will have a long-term care rider on it, and you can use your life insurance for long-term care insurance coverage if needed. And the beautiful thing about that particular scenario, and I don't get paid either way on this stuff, but the nice thing about this is that once you buy that insurance, that life insurance with that rider on it, it's locked in and the premiums never increase. So there's a big shift for people going towards that type of investment for long-term care rather than the normal traditional long-term care insurance situation. I could tell you, I just went through this, Steve-O, and my wife got through with flying colors and had no problems whatsoever getting coverage, whether traditional long-term care or the life insurance with the rider. I got denied.
Wow.
Yeah, I got denied with long-term care because, you want to know why, Steve-O?
Your health issues?
I had a heart attack, if you remember, 9 years ago, and I'm diabetic. I mean, I'm very much under control and I don't take insulin or anything like that, but technically in the medical records, it says I'm diabetic and they just don't want any part of it. So I went through the other avenue, which is the life insurance, and I got approved, no problem. So go figure.
Well, we know we had a couple people write us, Angie, wanting to know how you're doing.
I'm doing great, thank God. It was a huge wake up call back. I was 48 at the time when I had it. I was very much in shape. That's what saved my life because I'm a swimmer, and I had something called a widowmaker. I had 100% block of it, and people do not survive that, but I survived, thank God. And I decided 9 years ago I was eating pretty healthy, but I changed my diet even that much more. I went and became what's called a pescatarian. So I won't eat red meat, chicken, bacon, I won't eat any meats whatsoever, except for fish. So I eat fish and then I eat more of a Mediterranean diet. And now 9 years later, I'm 45, 50 pounds lighter and I'm doing great. I get checkups all the time. But I will tell you what happened because of this. And we've mentioned it in the past. I ended up producing all these kidney stones because of the change in diet. So it's been horrible in that respect. And I just had a kidney stone surgery not that long ago because it got stuck. So I'm actually in the process of being tested to see if my body just naturally produces this stuff. And if it's genetic, to see if I have to go on some sort of special medicine to try and stop producing this stuff. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know what I mean, Steve-O?
It's amazing. You sound and look so healthy, Andy.
I feel great. I feel wonderful. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm 57, and I'm better now than I was in my 30s. But I'm just dealing with the normal aging process of having these things that crop up on you, unfortunately.
Andy, people don't even think about this at all. But again, we're deal with, in a more like an older demographics here. And I just want people to know your office is so easy to reach because you're right off the Sawgrass.
Yeah, we're literally right off the Sawgrass and University Drive. It's easy to get to from Boca. It's easy to get to from West Broward. If you're coming from East Broward, it's a little bit of a hike, but not too bad. It's all highway driving, but it's pretty easy to get to. And then
plenty of parking.
Most of the time, I can also do Zoom office hours. So I'll meet people on Zoom so they don't have to come in if they don't need to.
Well, we just got a question from Ron in Coral Springs, which is where you are. Wants to know, how often should you have your will looked at?
That's a great question, Ron. I tell, it's interesting. I'm in the process of finalizing my book. Did I tell you that?
Hmm.
So
Which we're
yeah,
going to
Ron,
be promoting on this show.
yeah, Ron, the title of it is If You Don't Plan, You're Stupid. So one of the topics I bring up is how, I talk about it in the book a lot. How often should you be reviewing your estate plan, whether it's wills, trusts, durable powers, all that stuff? And I really emphasize in the book, and I tell people this, that estate planning is not static, it's dynamic. And what do I mean by that, Ron? I mean that it's constantly changing, meaning your life doesn't just sit still. Things happen, things change. So, because of that, in my opinion, you should be meeting with your estate planning attorney once a year. At a typical is what I recommend once a year, to just sit down to see what's changed in your life, to make sure your will's properly done, or that it's still doing what it's supposed to do, to make sure that your beneficiaries are properly designated in the right names, to make sure that your family members know exactly if something were to happen where your legal documents are. Do they know your usernames and passwords? All sorts of things. So my recommendation, Ron, is, and I tell my clients, and actually I have this program. It's called the Estates in One Place Private Client Group that I created this year, actually, and and they pay for it. It's a yearly fee, but they get access to what I call a legacy portal, Steve-O. So that's a private website that they can go in and they can they can list their assets, their liabilities, their usernames, their passwords. They can upload legal documents. They can record videos, you name it. And then, God forbid, something happens to you, you can make sure that your loved one who's going to be in charge has a username and password for that site, so that when something does happen, they can go in and they could see a roadmap of what you have, because it's always a disaster. So that's one thing. In addition, what I recommend as part of my private client group is I tell people we need to get together once a year. So I recommend, even with my private client group, Ron, once a year you get together with me for an hour. I'm normally $500 an hour for that meeting, but my private client group, which includes a lot of other things, Zoom office hours, you name it, it's $695 a year once you become a client
Wow.
of mine, and that's it. And it
That's a
covers a
great
lot of
deal.
benefits. Yeah, but my recommendation again, Ron, is I think once a year is good.
I want to tell people, I've shared this with you before, Andy, but one of the main purposes of this show, and uh, I don't know how many people remember it, but I revert back to, because I followed the Terry Shively, what happened to her,
Yep,
and there was no planning.
correct.
And look at all the trouble this caused because there was no planning. And that's really one of the main purposes of having an estate planning show on here. I mean, we've got so many different shows, legal, health, financial, but to me, after watching what the Shively family went through for not having a plan, that would have been so simple to come in, say to your office, Andy, and sit down with you and work all this out. But that's really the main purpose for this show.
Yeah, I mean, when that case, that was a long time ago, by the way. We're
Yes.
both showing our age.
Yeah, right. But it
Because of
stuck
that,
out in my mind because it was every day it was on the news.
that was a horrible situation. And for people
Yes.
that don't remember, I think it was Terry Schiavo. Um,
Yes.
what happened, and it happened here in Florida. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the issue was, she was in a vegetative state, and I think, if I recall, the husband wanted to take her off life support, and her parents wanted to keep her on, and they didn't have anything in place as to who can make that decision. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, and because of that situation, we ended up creating something called a living will, which now that will
Mm.
avoid the whole mess. And that's all part of the estate planning process. And that living will is also, I call it the dying with dignity document. the pull the plug document. I actually call it the Terry Schiavo document because that's what really created it. So unfortunately, Steve-O, there are more people that don't plan than plan. And then
No.
the family's in a horrible situation if that ever happens, where someone's on life support because they have to make that decision. So the living will in that Terry Schiavo scenario, that is meant to tell people, your loved ones, in advance, if I'm ever put on life support, what my wishes are, so they never have to worry about it. They know what your wishes were, which is a wonderful. I get more calls in my 30 plus years of practice for that one document saying thank you for having that in place for my mom, dad, brother, sister, spouse, whatever it is, because we knew what they wanted. We didn't have to contemplate that portion of it. And Steve-O, I'm a big hockey fan as you are, and go Panthers.
Yes. Yes.
But I was saddened to hear on the night before the Dallas versus Winnipeg game, one of the players' fathers unexpectedly passed away overnight.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so it was a big story. And the story was this player, I forget the Winnipeg Jet player, but was he going to even play? Obviously, obviously
Right.
Life is more important than a game. But he immediately said, "I'm going to play." But my immediate thought was that they said it was unexpected, and my initial reaction is, I hope they had planning in place, because Steve, when I do my workshops, one of the articles I put up an article in my workshop, and it happened to be when I was visiting. Jason and I were visiting Duke Law School a year ago in April, when he was deciding whether to go there or not. And on my doorstep of the hotel room that next morning from USA Today was an article, and it basically said, and I put it in the workshop, that there are less people doing estate planning today than ever. And it's horrible.
Wow.
It's horrible. And I've been doing this for 30 plus years. And
Why
it's been going
is that,
down.
Andy?
I think, Steve-O, people are a couple things. People are afraid to face mortality. So they
Yes.
really don't want to talk about it or deal with it. And two, people are procrastinators. People like to push things off. They think it's not going to happen to them. They have time and all this stuff. I get calls all the time, Steve-O, from people that are unfortunately in the hospital dying from something, and they don't have anything in place. And I have to go to the hospital with witnesses and a notary and drop everything to create stuff to deal with it. So the only time, Steve-O, that I really saw a huge increase in estate planning was, guess when?
COVID.
Yep, COVID. COVID was a crazy time. People, they had no choice but to face it, because every night
Right.
we'd see it in the news how many people were dying. They literally had a roll of how many people were dying every minute. And that was the only time that I saw a huge uptick in doing estate planning. People are just lazy, afraid to face mortality, or they like to procrastinate, think nothing's going to happen to me, I can deal with it later, and then something happens. I never thought I was going to get a heart attack at 48
Right.
years old, but I had
No
stuff
way.
in place, so I was fine.
So, Andy, you do a lot of seminars. Do you have any seminars coming up?
I do. I have one coming up this Wednesday, I think, the 21st, in Pembroke Pines at Total Wine. Again, it's Wednesday, the 21st, Pembroke Pine Total Wine, and that's going to be around 5:30 to 7 p.m. And you need to call to reserve at 954-755-7803, 954-755-7803. I have another one coming up, and it's going to be on estate planning essentials. The second workshop is going to be in Plantation on June 4th, June 4th, same time, but in the Plantation Total Wine.
Well, I got to tell you, Andy, we are so lucky to have you. And God, Andy and I plan the show prior to, and we want to get to your questions as a priority because we know you're sitting there listening. We want to thank you for all your letters. Andy's going to be back again with us in 2 weeks. He does 2 live shows with us. Andy, we so appreciate you. One more time with the phone number at the office.
Yep. So a couple ways to get a hold of me. Office number 954-755-7803 if you want to make an appointment to come to the workshop. And the other way is email andrew@rosenberglawfirm.net.
Ro, you're the best. Stay healthy. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, buddy. You too. Take care of yourself.
Okay, go Panthers.
Go Panthers.
That's attorney Andrew Rosenberg. That's it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.